Okay, I want you to imagine something. You're charging into a burning building, and in an instant, your vision is just gone, wiped out by this thick, black, toxic smoke. You literally can't see your hand in front of your face. So how do you find your way? How do you possibly find someone who's trapped inside and then get yourself back out? It's one of the most terrifying and most critical skills a firefighter has to master. Today, we're going to dig into a really fascinating solution to this life or death puzzle.
And this quote, it absolutely nails it. Because the secret to navigating when you're blind isn't about some kind of superpower. It's about learning how to see the invisible patterns that are hiding right there in plain sight. So let's just get right to the core of it. How in the world do you build a map inside your head of a place that is completely and utterly invisible?
To solve this, we first have to really wrap our heads around the problem. And that means understanding what it's truly like to be, for all intents and purposes, blind inside a fire.
In zero visibility conditions, your most important sense is just switched off. You're left with touch, with sound, with your own memory. You know, your movement slows to a crawl because your brain is working in overdrive, trying to piece together every little bit of information to build some kind of picture of the world around you.
You know, this incredibly overwhelming experience actually has a name. It's called the Ganzfeld effect. It's what happens when your brain gets zero visual information, just a solid, uniform field of gray or black smoke. The result? Total disorientation. You can literally lose your sense of which way is up, down, left, or right.
And that disorientation is absolutely deadly. We're not just talking about getting lost. As this research makes really clear, it's about losing the ability to make sense of the situation, to make those split-second calls that are literally the difference between life and death.
Okay, so we get how dangerous disorientation is. But here's where it gets really interesting. The very gear that's designed to keep fighters alive has actually made this problem worse. It's a total paradox.
I mean, just look at this timeline. It's an incredible journey, right? We've gone from the eating smoke era, where firefighters would literally use wet mustaches as a crude filter, all the way to today's high-tech gear. The real game changer was the SCBA, the self-contained breathing apparatus. That's what allowed firefighters to push deeper into buildings and stay inside way longer than ever before.
And this right here shows you the paradox perfectly. Their modern gear protects them from incredible heat and toxic fumes, but it also seals them off. It dulls their hearing, it dulls their ability to feel changes in heat on their skin, all the environmental cues they used to rely on to stay oriented. So yeah, they can push deeper, but they're also pushing blinder.
So if all that high-tech gear is muffling their senses, where's a firefighter supposed to find the information they need? Where's the map?
Well, the answer, and this comes from a really groundbreaking thesis by a firefighter and architect named Jordan Legan, is so surprisingly simple. The key to navigating the inside of a building
is realizing the clues aren't on the inside anymore. When you're in that blinding smoke, the information just isn't there. You can't find it.
The answer is on the outside. The real key is to build a mental map before you even step 1 foot through the door.
And this whole idea comes down to a concept called legibility. It's this idea that a building's design isn't just random. It has a pattern, a kind of logic to it. And if you can learn to read that logic from the outside, you can predict what the layout is going to be on the inside.
Okay, so let's break this down. How does this actually work in practice? How can the outside of a house become a blueprint for what's going on inside?
It works for a really simple reason. Houses, especially single-family homes, are incredibly repetitive. They follow common designs, common patterns, and this research argues that we can actually take those repeating patterns and turn them into a super powerful tool for firefighters.
And check out how practical this gets. Let's take a classic ranch house. You pull up, you see a long, low profile with a garage on one end. Instantly, you can predict a pretty likely layout. The public spaces, the living room and kitchen, are probably on one side, and the private spaces, the bedrooms, are on the other. That one simple observation creates a basic map in your head. So it becomes this systematic process, not just a guess. In those first few seconds when they arrive on scene, a firefighter can identify the building type, pull up the most common floor plan for it from their memory, and create what you could call a mental blueprint to navigate with, even when they can't see a thing. And this mental blueprint, it's not just some cool academic idea. Let's look at how it actually transforms the chaos of a fire into a structured, life-saving strategy. What's so powerful about this approach is that it takes what used to be just gut instinct,
that collection of jumbled experiences that veteran firefighters build up over decades, and it turns it into a system. It becomes a structured theory of knowledge about buildings that you can actually teach to every single recruit, making them safer and way more effective right from day one.
The author Norman MacLean wrote this about the chaos of a wildfire, about how all the details can rise up like smoke and just blot everything out. And it just captures this challenge so perfectly. The goal is to find that little piece of information that is true, the underlying pattern of the house, because that, right there, is what makes all the difference. This idea of using clues on the outside to map out an unseen space it's a really powerful way of thinking. And it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What invisible patterns, what mental blueprints do you use to navigate your own world every single day?